When it comes to animated storytelling, I think we can all agree that the biggest two to reign supreme above the industry are Studio Ghibli and Disney Pixar. Pixar has continuously produced box office hits that make the general audiences fall in love with the films, and Ghibli has grown one of the biggest fan bases in all of media, with most of the films being really old and coming out decades ago, but even with that age being put into mind, these films are still being frequently talked about today across all platforms. While both have amazing movies on their own behalf, and some of my favorite movies of all time come from both Studio Ghibli and Pixar, we aim to answer a question today that many of you wonder, and that question is, which is better? Before I answer the question, I want to say that my opinion towards this subject is completely subjective, and instead of trying to object and change your opinion or try to force upon you why one is better than the other, I'm simply here to tell my insights and my opinion and give you arguments on why I think one is far superior than the other. Instead of forcing you to change your insight, I'm simply letting you know what my insight is and maybe change some of your insights as well. And this is because, in my humble opinion, there's a pretty clear winner, and I think the winner is Studio Ghibli. It's miles better than Pixar. It's not even close. Let me explain. I think almost everyone can agree that an amazing aspect of Miyazaki's films, and all of Ghibli's films in general, is the world that each film crafts. Ghibli movies manage to make worlds that are so crazy in concept and have this charming weirdness to them, but at the same time still make it feel real. Ghibli feels like you're in the world that these quirky and amazing characters are in. One of my friends described it as watching something like a documentary, which is a good description in its own regard, but the way I see it, it's something much more special. The world feels so fleshed out, and as these characters discover something new, you experience the same thing the characters are feeling. You are in awe with the character. Simple as seeing a new creature in this world, to seeing a new section of this world, or to learning something new about one of the endearing and charming characters in this world. It feels like you experience everything. You feel something every time you see something on the screen. You have that sense of discovery and childlike wonder, really cementing you as taking this ride with the main character themselves as they journey into this world. A great example of this, in my opinion, is in Spirited Away, where you go along this intense and breathtaking ride with Chihiro as she's forced to be stuck in this world, and she has no choice but to stay and meet these different creatures and spirits. When Chihiro meets No Face for the first time, we have that sense of weirdness, but at the same time that sense of curiosity as her. Or when she meets Yubaba for the first time, we experience the same fear as her, because Yubaba gives this intimidation factor towards us, the audience, and Chihiro herself. And when Chihiro develops as a person throughout the movie and matures as she's stuck in this world, you grow with her, and you get a sense of unforgiving longing as we leave this world with our main character. Pixar fails at this immersive realism because, unlike Ghibli where you experience, Pixar is most focused with the seeing factor. An example of this is in Inside Out. You don't really get to experience any awe or any emotion when you're presented with a new section of this mind-like world, because our main characters have already seen these places multiple times. And if they see a new place, their reactions and sense of awe aren't really focused on, and the movie just kind of moves on from that sense of discovery, completely removing that sense of relatability with the audience. Although I will say there have been times where this sense of world discovery has been done well in Pixar, for examples in Monsters Inc. or Finding Nemo, but even those movies don't hold up to the level of immersive discovery as well as Ghibli films do. The simplest way I can describe it is that watching a Ghibli movie feels like you're in a whole new world, while watching a Pixar movie just feels like, well, you're watching a movie. Another thing I can say is a major factor in why Ghibli films are so much better than Pixar in a sense is because of how much they rely on the viewer. You see, these films, specifically Miyazaki's ones especially, have faith on the viewers to interpret what the director wants you to see. This is great not only because you can already tell what's going on just by looking at what's happening on screen, but because you yourself are engaged with something during the entire runtime of the film. You yourself always need to pay attention to what's going on because not everything is being simply told to you. You yourself as a viewer actually play along with the movie and garner insights of your own. This also makes the movie more engaging rather than being boring throughout the entire runtime because your eyes are always glued to the screen because the film tells so many meanings throughout animation alone. Miyazaki and other Ghibli directors don't need to show too much when they want a meaning conveyed to the audience because they have enough trust to the audience that they can figure out what visual storytelling was trying to tell the audience. With Pixar, they kind of follow the simple format of tell, don't show, which is not a bad thing, but I'll explain why it's kind of going backfire with Pixar's side in this argument. Pixar don't have enough reliance on the viewer to figure out on the meanings on their own, but they need to tell them instead because one, they don't have enough trust on the audience, and two, they're not showing what needs to be shown. Let's look at this heartbreaking scene from Grave of the Fireflies. This simple sequence of showing that time has passed from the last time Seita and Setsuko spoke is enough to tell the audience that Setsuko has unfortunately passed away, with Seita's reaction through dialogue being the only other thing we need so we get a main character's reaction. Unlike Pixar, where in Coco or Inside Out specifically, where we need everything to be told to us. Let's look at this scene from Coco where this old man gets forgotten and the film doesn't allow the viewers to speculate on what happened and figure it out on their own as the movie progresses, but instead the characters have to tell us what happened. Although it's not always a bad thing and it gets a simple and more faster way of conveying to the audience, but it gets rid of the feeling of achievement when we figure something out or the ability for us to do something while the film tells us the story. Although Pixar has done this well during the past, like films with Wall-E, but throughout the years went on, especially after Up, man, they've heavily relied on the tell, don't show method. In general, although the tell, don't show method isn't a bad thing, it depends on the person, but the example I used is just far more superior when it comes to Ghibli than in Pixar. But I'm not saying that the tell don't show method can't be done well. I mean, the movie I use it as an example, which was Coco, I literally gave a 9 out of 10. But the sense of visual storytelling and aspect of audience reliance is just far more superior in Studio Ghibli in every single way. Okay, for the last part, and this may get some diehard Pixar fans to be pissed off with me. The animation. I'm sorry, but in my humble opinion, this category isn't even close at all. Ghibli has a way better animation style, in my opinion. Although I feel like it's unfair to say that because both have completely different styles, the breathtaking and jaw-dropping animation of Ghibli films is just leaps ahead of the cartoonish style of Pixar. This is related to what I said during the immersion aspect of Ghibli films. The animation of Ghibli feels like you're in a new world, while Pixar feels like you're watching a movie. In Ghibli, simple stuff like food eating, or the environment around, or how the wind hits the surrounding area are already enough to really achieve that sense of immersive realism. With Pixar, although the animation is good, you aren't really in awe of the world. With Ghibli, you appreciate the world, but with Pixar, you only really appreciate the art style. Just seeing the boy and the heron, the whole movie is a visual spectacle. Although I can really only use the trailer shots since the movie isn't out yet on digital, a simple shot of Mahito going up that field of grass towards a golden gate, and how the wind is surrounding the entire area where the main character is walking, is already miles ahead of anything Pixar has come out of when it comes to the beauty of world immersion. Although I will say this, both are great in their own regard, both have different animation styles, and both have great art. But I just think the animation of Pixar is good, but I definitely think the animation of Ghibli is just something much more special. By watching a Pixar animated movie, you will probably say, yeah, that was cool. But when you're watching a Ghibli animated movie, you'll experience the entire movie with that emotion of wow. Now we've come to the end of the video, and again, this was all solely my opinion, and I'm simply giving arguments on why I think Ghibli is better than Pixar. If I said something that you disagree with or have any arguments against the arguments I made in this video, please comment down below, as I would love to have an interactive and healthy discussion and would like to hear your opinions and thoughts on this subject. In conclusion, I'm not trying to tell you that Pixar is trash or Ghibli is something that you need to praise because I praise it. Hell, I don't even love all Ghibli films, and I even love some Pixar films over some Ghibli films, rating stuff like Monsters Inc. a 9 out of 10. But this video is simply a way of showing why I think Ghibli is far more superior than Disney's Pixar. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys like this video, I would heavily appreciate it if you subscribed. It's free. I'm really taking this YouTube thing seriously, and that one simple button can help me so much already. Check out my other videos if they interest you in any way possible. See you guys later.